Dillian Whyte is claiming that Luis Ortiz don't really want to fight him. He says that Ortiz asked for silly money when they were discussing a potential fight this summer just passed. Dillian Whyte says here, in my last 2 fights, I fought 2 former world champions, yet Wilder bleats that I have to fight Ortiz to be second place mandatory. Who's Ortiz's best win? A dreadful points win over Malik Scott, who Chisora knocked out? I offered to fight Ortiz years ago, but he didn't want to know. He didn't even want to know this summer and asked for silly money coming off his knockout loss to Wilder. And he made it clear that he wouldn't be ready for July 28, which was the date we had available. Funnily enough, it didn't stop him from fighting someone else on that day. Wilder wants me to jump through more hoops that he dictates before I can fight him. Yet he fought journeyman Jason Gavin immediately before he fought for the world title. So those are the words of the body snatcher, Dillian Whyte. He's not happy. And some of you also might have seen a interview that Dillian Whyte did on DAZN, in which he produced a private message on his phone from Deontay Wilder, which said that, in which Wilder said that he was going to make Dillian Whyte wait 2 years for a title shot. Now, for somebody to say something like that, for a world champion to be private messaging a guy saying, I'm going to make you wait 2 years for your title shot. What can I even... I'm almost lost for words that Deontay Wilder's doing stuff like that to challengers behind the scenes. Why would you want to stop a guy eating like that? And furthermore, what kind of relationship does Deontay Wilder have with the WBC that would give him so much confidence that he can keep Dillian Whyte waiting for 2 years? What's that all about? And Dillian Whyte makes a good point with regards to Deontay Wilder acting as though he should jump through hoops to get a title shot. Which hoops did Deontay Wilder jump through to get a title shot? The WBC have been very kind to Deontay Wilder. Let's not get it twisted. Very kind over the years. And Dillian Whyte is the most deserving challenger right now in the heavyweight division for any of the world titles. If you're talking about merit, who he's beaten, how active he's been, there's nobody in the heavyweight division right now, no contender, who's put in as much work to get a title shot of late as Dillian Whyte. Facts. So I can understand why Dillian Whyte's aggrieved. As far as the Luis Ortiz situation specifically, Dillian Whyte did call out Luis Ortiz years ago when Ortiz was signed to Matchroom briefly. But as far as fighting Ortiz in July just gone, I don't know whether that's true or not, what Dillian Whyte is saying there. I don't know. I didn't hear anything about it at the time, so maybe you guys have got some info on that. And look, years ago, when Dillian Whyte did call out Luis Ortiz, I said at the time that I would pick Luis Ortiz to win that fight. And I've always rated Dillian Whyte. I've always thought Dillian Whyte is underestimated by a lot of fans out there. And if you look at his resume, it shows that he's been underestimated because of the wins that he's got on it now. But maybe I'm also underestimating Dillian Whyte when I'm picking people like Luis Ortiz to beat him. Is Luis Ortiz that good? See, that's the thing. We don't know how good Luis Ortiz is. Particularly now. Luis Ortiz had a good win over Bryant Jennings. How good is Bryant Jennings? What's Bryant Jennings done? He fought an old Tony Thompson, Dave Allen, who else? Malik Scott. Again, he did go the distance with Scott, a guy who was knocked out by Derek Chisora. And that was a fresher version of Malik Scott, a more active version of Malik Scott. Ortiz went the distance, and Ortiz got clipped quite a few times in that Malik Scott fight. So, look, I think Luis Ortiz is a very good fighter. Don't get it twisted. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I think he's a very good fighter, but we don't know how good. We don't know if he's the number, let's say, 3 or 4 heavyweight in the world behind the champions. We don't know that. or number 5, whatever the case may be, if you count Tyson Fury as one of the, let's say, top 3. We don't know how good he is. So it's difficult for me to gauge accurately and say with confidence that, yeah, he beats Dillian Whyte. Difficult for me to say that. And Dillian Whyte has shown time and time again that he's better than people give him credit for or realize. And Dillian Whyte has improved. There's no question. He's one of the most improved fighters in the heavyweight division over the past few years. So big him up for that. Big him up for believing in himself when very few others did. So, yeah, as far as the silly money Ortiz is asking, I don't know about that. Sometimes fighters get unrealistic expectations. Sometimes they think that the streets are paved with gold. They look at a fighter like Dillian Whyte, who's been in, fights with Anthony Joshua, Chisora, all this kind of stuff. And maybe he's thinking these guys are getting crazy money, and I want a piece of that crazy money. Ortiz put in a good showing against Wilder. He gave Wilder his toughest ever fight. Was that enough to warrant him getting life-changing sums of money? The performance he put in against Deontay Wilder? I'll leave you guys to decide that. But, when Dillian Whyte lost to Anthony Joshua, and that was not a world title fight. That was only a British and Commonwealth title fight, right? But still, it took Dillian Whyte a good long while to build himself up as a contender and as a prominent heavyweight in his own right. It took him a long while. It's not like it happened overnight. He had to come back on undercards, fighting journeyman at first, being frustrated, and eventually he got there. Eventually, he got to the stage where he was headlining his own pay-per-view. It took a long time for Dillian Whyte to get there. A lot of hard work and dedication. Now, Luis Ortiz, what's he done since losing to Deontay Wilder? Who's he fought? Nobody. Now, I understand why he's in a rush. I understand why he's trying to leapfrog that process that Dillian Whyte went through. Because again, one, he fought for a world title, not just a British and Commonwealth. So he does deserve a bit more status than Dillian had coming off Dillian's loss. But at the same time, Luis Ortiz is also a guy who has father time against him. He's not a young guy like Dillian Whyte was when he lost to Joshua. So I can understand fully why Ortiz is trying to find a shortcut somewhere. But I can also understand Dillian Whyte's situation, Dillian Whyte's stance on Luis Ortiz and on Deontay Wilder, particularly Wilder. Whyte don't have so much of an issue with Ortiz, it would seem. He's got more of an issue with Wilder. Wilder saying, I'm going to make you wait 2 years and all this kind of business. Like, what's that all about? And what kind of relationship does he have with the WBC, as I said, to be able to say that to a contender? I'm going to make you wait 2 years. That's foul to me. Like, that's foul. That's like some real hatred that he has for Dillian Whyte. And hey, if he hates him, he hates him. Dillian Whyte has talked plenty of smack about Deontay Wilder over the years, but so was Tyson Fury, And Deontay Wilder ain't talking about making Tyson Fury wait. Yeah. And let's be real, Deontay Wilder could have earned his career high purse if he'd fought Dillian Whyte over the past year. He could have made a career high purse. But instead he took on whoever he took on. People like Stavern. Well, he did take on Ortiz, to be fair. But again, a lot of people, particularly the Wilder fans, they act like Ortiz and Dillian Whyte are in two totally different universes as fighters, with Ortiz being the way better fighter. But what money did Wilder make against Ortiz? He could have made way more against Dillian Whyte. Way more. He had several multi-million pound, which is even more multi-million dollar offers to fight Dillian Whyte, which he turned down. Strange stuff. And I've said before that it could be a situation where Al Heyman is trying to keep it all in-house. At least when it comes to taking risky fights, keep it in-house, other than when it's a unification. or some type of, this is a unification of sorts, isn't it? A consolidation fight against Tyson Fury, the WBC champion against the mythical lineal champion. And it's a big fight, it's a pay-per-view. But other than situations like that and potentially a Joshua fight, maybe Al Heyman just wants to try and keep it in-house as much as possible. And he's not the only one. Promoters do this in general. Eddie Hearn does this. Frank Warren will try to do this where he can if he's got the fighters in whichever weight division to be able to keep it in-house. Promoters have been doing this for decades. It's what they do. And perhaps that's why Deontay Wilder turned down the Dillian Whyte fight when it was great money. Who knows? Let me know what you feel in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.